There are times when applying a standard UVW map modifier to an object will not apply the textures properly. There may be other times where you may find you want to create a custom texture that's drawn by a texture artist in a program like Photoshop in order to get a very specific look. This is where the Unwrap UVW modifier comes into use. With the Unwrap UVW modifier, you are able to unfold the UV coordinates of an object and edit them to create a custom layout. Once the UV coordinates are laid out, you can create an image of the layout that can be opened in any paint program you use. In this exercise, we're going to automatically unwrap an object in our scene in order to export the layout for use in an image editing program. We'll start by opening a new file. Click on the Application button, select Open, and navigate to the Datasets directory for Chapter 4. The file we want to load is the Chapter 4 Unwrap UVW 01.max file. Click the file name to select it, and click the Open button in the lower right-hand side of the dialog to open the file. Before we move on, let's incrementally save this, so we can get back to the original file if we do something to mess up our working file. Click on the Application button, Save As, and click the Increment button to save it as a new revision of the file. If it asks you whether or not you want to overwrite an existing file, click Yes. Go ahead and overwrite that file. You are presented with a close-up view of the base of the lab equipment that is hanging from the middle of the room. We're going to apply an Unwrap UVW modifier to this in order to get a usable UV layout we can work with in a paint program. Start by selecting the Equipment Base 01 object located at the center of the room. Once it's selected, click on the Modify tab to switch over to the Modify panel. This is a ProBoolean object that's been made up of 4 3D primitives. Click on the down arrow to the right of the modifier list to open the modifier dropdown. From the drop-down list, scroll to the bottom and select the Unwrap UVW modifier to place it in the modifier stack. When you first add the Unwrap UVW modifier, you notice that the edges of the equipment base object turn green. This indicates that they have separate mapping coordinates applied on each face. Our goal is to automatically unwrap the object and make it a usable template. We're going to do this by opening the UV editor. In the Modify panel, Unwrap UVW modifier, Edit UVs rollout, click the Open UV Editor button. Once the UV editor opens, you'll see a work area that shows the UVs based on each polygon, along with several menus, toolbars, and rollouts. If you look at this editor and you feel a little bit overwhelmed by the number of options, keep in mind that we have a very specific task to accomplish. And in order to accomplish that task, we only need to use a few tools. This is true with nearly all aspects of 3ds Max. When you think through the tools you'll need for a particular task, you eliminate all the other options. This is a very good working methodology for anything you need to do in nearly any program. We will work at the sub-object face level. In the toolbar at the lower left-hand side of the Edit UVs window, click on the Polygon sub-object. You may see some polygons that are already selected. We want to select the remaining polygons. To do this, press Ctrl-A on the keyboard. This is the shortcut for Select All. And it will select all of the polygons in our currently active object. In order to accomplish the task of quickly unwrapping the UVs on this object, you're going to perform an operation called flattening. We can find the Flatten Custom option in the Explode rollout on the right-hand side of the UV editor window. Click and hold the Flatten Custom button and choose the Flatten options from the flyout menu. This opens the Flatten Mapping dialog. In the face angle threshold value, enter a value of 60 and press enter. This will set the threshold angle to 60 degrees. That will be used for the calculation of the UV unwrapping. We'll leave all the other options at their default. Then click OK to flatten the mapping coordinates on the object. You should see an arrangement of polygons that now represent the unwrapped version of the UVW coordinates. In order to get this layout into a program like Photoshop, we need to render the layout into an image. In the Tools menu, select the Render UVW Template option. This opens the Render UVs dialog and will allow us to render the UV template based on some parameters that we set. Since we don't need this to be a very high resolution, change the width value to a value of 512 and then press enter. Then change the height value to a value of 512 and press enter. We're going to change the mode to the normal option. In the mode drop-down, choose the normal option in order to render the direction of the surface normal into the UV template. Now that we set our options, click the Render UV Template button at the bottom of the dialog. This will render a UV template and allow us to save it to whatever format we need. Not only does this render color information based on the normal direction of the surface, it also renders the alpha channel for the UV layout. To see the alpha channel, click on the Display Alpha Channel in the toolbar of the image window. You can see the alpha channel represents the outline of each of the UV map clusters. Click the Display Alpha Channel button to return to the full color view. We can save this template as an image by clicking the Save button in the upper left-hand corner of the image window. In the Save Image dialog, you can enter whatever file name you like and choose from any of 3ds Max's many image formats. We're not going to save this file right now. However, if you'd like to, you may go ahead and save the file out in order to edit it later. Click Cancel to close the Save Image dialog box, close the Render Map Display window, then close the Render UVs dialog. We've completed editing our UVs. Go ahead and close the Edit UVWs dialog box. In the modifier stack, click on the Unwrap UVW modifier in order to close the sub-object. We've now unwrapped the base object and made it ready for a custom texture map. Press Ctrl S to save the file.